Hello everyone and welcome back to my favourite room in the house. I haven't done any videos lately and for that I apologise. I've just been a really busy boy and I've also been doing a lot of live streams. So if you're looking for more G.I. Joe content, maybe check out Podcast from the Pit if you haven't done so already, or click the live tab on my channel because lately I've done a whole bunch of live streams with some of my friends that have been a lot of fun. So please check them out. Before I start today, I just wanted to let you know, as I always do, that I'm an amateur, so I'm going to try and record this all in one take. So if the dog starts barking, or if I say a lot, because I've been told to say a lot, I do apologise. This is a hobby for me. I don't fancy myself doing a lot of editing. So we'll just go from go to woe, and whatever happens in this video just happens. It's all me. Anyways, what did I want to talk about? Well, I wanted to talk to you about the G.I. Joe that started it all for me. My first G.I. Joe, and that was 1986 Dial Tone. It was the first G.I. Joe my parents bought me when I was a kid, and he's really close to my heart. So what I've done is I've basically grabbed every single reference in my collection out of the cabinet, and I've got it here on the floor next to me, and we're going to talk about it today. And I guess I wanted to start with this book. This is called Comprehensive History on the Creation of G.I. Joe by Dan Klingensmith. I bought a couple of volumes of this book from Dan at Joe Fest when I was lucky enough to go there a couple of months ago. But the first volume actually contains a little bit of history on Dial Tone. The whole book covers sort of artist notes and drawings about the creation of all of our favourite figures. But on page 27, Dan actually covers off on Dial Tone. And there he is there. So pretty iconic art, if you ask me. The original painting was done by Andre Korobanix II, who was a freelance illustrator for the final presentation design. So he doesn't differ very much as compared to what we sort of ended up with. You can see there's some alternative names for Dial Tone was Squelch and Hotline, which are definitely very interesting names. Hotline might have lasted a little bit longer than Dial Tone. Do phones even have a Dial Tone these days? I'm not sure. I think you just dial and away it goes. But yeah, Hotline is Squelch. Squelch not so much. But Hotline would have been a cool name. And as you can see here, there are some initial design drawings done showing Dial Tone with a few different headgear setups. So there he is with a baseball cap, with a helmet, much like Crazy Legs, with another baseball cap there. But obviously the design they settled on was the one with the iconic beret. So they went with that beret, but then obviously with the futuristic backpack, as I'm about to show you. I can definitely recommend these books. So if you don't have a copy of these, I think Dan's been selling them cheap on his website. So go check him out, creatinggijoe.com. So I'll get the first figure out, which is of course the first version of Dial Tone from 1986 in all his splendor. Here he is. He is still one of my favorite G.I. Joes. Obviously holds a lot of sentimental value for me. The reason I like him, well, there's a couple of reasons I like him. First and foremost, this weapon here, this SMG, a submachine gun or a machine pistol, whatever you want to call it, is actually iconic and was recast and used for lots of figures throughout the line in different colours. It's a really nice weapon. There's no real direct equivalent in real life. A lot of the G.I. Joe guns were based on real weaponry, but this one doesn't really match anything that I can find in my reference books about weapons. The figure itself, he's a fantastic design. I sort of went off him a bit in the early 90s when Saddam Hussein became pretty well known. He definitely looks like Saddam Hussein, not gonna lie. He's got that beret and that moustache, so certainly looks a little like Saddam Hussein. The knee pads here are quite unique. I can't think of any other G.I. Joes that have knee pads like this. They're really, really cool. And of course, the backpack. Dial Tone was obviously a communications officer. The backpack is really futuristic. It's obviously some sort of communication device, maybe a radio with a mouthpiece here. And it fits beautifully into the back of the figure, and then the mouthpiece drops down. We'll add his weapon back in there. Be careful not to break those thumbs. And put him back on the stand. So that is the 1986 Dial Tone, and I clearly remember ripping him off the card when I think I got him for my birthday. It would have been 87 or 88. By the time the G.I. Joes got to Australia, they were a couple of years old in America. So I would have been, 6 or 7 years old when this one made its way to my house in little old Adelaide, and I have been in love with G.I. Joes ever since. In 1986, that wasn't the only version of Dial Tone to come out. If you remember, there was a special set of G.I. Joes called Special Missions Brazil. It was some sort of exclusive. You could only buy it from a particular toy store in the States, which I'm sure we didn't have here. But correct me if I'm wrong, if I've buggered that up. If you're Australian and you saw the Special Missions Brazil figures here in Australia, tell me in the comments below. Tell me where you saw them. But as part of that Special Missions Brazil set, Dial Tone was recolored. There he is there. And this isn't a bad colorways for him as far as I'm concerned. Some of the Special Missions Brazil's figures were pretty ordinary. Like Mainframe, he looked like he wasn't even wearing a shirt, for example. But the Dial Tone is very, very cool from this set. So not a huge variation in terms of sculpt. I think they're exactly the same, and that sculpt becomes well used as you're about to see. But the coloration is fantastic, as my friend Wes Joe Hunter 73 would say. He'd say it's fantastic. So great red pants there, brown tunic, brown shirt, brown vest, whatever you want to call that, and black sleeves. I reckon that one is pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy to have him in my collection. That's the Special Missions Brazil Dial Tone that came out in 1986. In 1990, G.I. Joe was releasing a whole bunch of figures under the Sonic Fighters branding. And Dial Tone was one of those figures to get the Sonic Fighters treatment. And they went to another cool colorways, which is this black, blue, and grey sort of setup, which is very cool as well. Makes him look like a real sort of urban trooper, maybe even a police officer. But certainly the sculpt has held up through those three figures, regardless of the colour that they've chucked onto the final product. So this 1990 Sonic Fighters version is very cool. He came with a whole bunch of accessories, including the old Sonic Fighter backpack, which is a bit ridiculously sized. I wouldn't, display Dial Tone with that backpack. I tried putting some batteries in this one, but unfortunately it doesn't work. Looks like the terminals are a little bit corroded. However, I do have some Sonic Fighters backpacks that still make the noise. I wish this one did, but it just doesn't. I'm sorry. The satellite disc tends to break off a fair bit, so I'm just happy to have that intact. He also came with a whole bunch of accessories. That SMG has been recolored in black, but there's some other stuff here as well. Got a little baggie, couple of other accessories. He was armed to the teeth. So there's that grenade launcher that came with hardball, I reckon, recolored in black. There's I reckon this might be Charbroil's original weapon, obviously recolored in black as well. And Dodger, I think, had this little weapon. So he was fully kitted out, as a lot of those 90s G.I. Joes were. In 1994, there was another version of Dial Tone released as part of the Battle Corps line, and this one has a slightly different sculpt. There he is there. So he looks very space age, very Starship Troopers. The SMG's still there, which is obviously Dialtone's signature weaponry until this point. But you take the helmet off on this guy. No beret, but he's got the moustache. So he passes as Dialtone as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, the sculpt is it's pretty different to the original, but it doesn't look too out of place for someone I would consider calling Dialtone. That helmet is fantastic, and got the microphone on there, which is absolutely critical because he was obviously the communications expert. That also came with a whole bunch of accessories as well, and I don't know how Dialtone would have carried this stuff around. It's pretty amazing, but yeah, there's a big machine gun. The kids munted this one that came with mine, so obviously this Dialtone got quite a lot of playware, which is good. I don't mind a bit of character. And there's one of the spring-loaded missile launchers, which was customary with those late 90s figures. And I say late 90s, but it was late in the run of G.I. Joe. Got a little handgun there and a couple of missiles as well. And they just go in there like that, and then you can shoot them. Woo! That's pretty cool. I've never done a missile demonstration on a video before, so I hope you enjoyed that. Where to now? Well, I've still got plenty of figures to show you, but maybe I should show you a little bit of paperwork before we go any further. And I have the file cards here that were supplied with a couple of these figures. I have the file card from the 1986 version, and it's worth showing this off. Dialtone, as you can see, was a communications officer. His name was Jack S. Morelli. His primary military specialty was radio telecommunications, as we've covered already. His secondary military specialty was infantry, and his birthplace was Eugene in Oregon. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So Oregon is a state in America's northwest, I believe, but I haven't heard of the city Eugene. If you're watching this and you are from Eugene in Oregon, let us know if it is a real place, because I know sometimes they don't put real places. They didn't put real places on these file cards, but if you're from Eugene, Oregon, give us a shout out in the comments. The story of Dialtone was that he built his own crystal set when he was 10. By 14, he was part of a CB net and had his own ham station by the time he was 16. Dialtone made all his own equipment, buying parts with quarters earned bagging groceries. He saw the army as a means to furthering his education in his chosen field, and quickly found that instead of a stepping stone, it was a goal in itself. Manning a radio in the field wasn't just passing time, it was a job with a purpose. One of the scariest things that can happen to you out in the field is to lose contact with your base. That means you're alone. No artillery support, no airstrikes, no medevac, no extraction, no nothing. Cavalry ain't coming until the man with the radio tells them to. Pretty cool. I wonder if Larry Harmer wrote that one. He has to have written that one. It's pretty groovy. Well, I like to think he wrote it anyway. And I've also got the file card here from the Sonic Fighters version, which is a nice neon green colour. The profile is largely the same, so it's still Jack Morelli, and we'll get into why that's significant a little bit later. And the profile might actually be a little bit different. It says here Dialtone's been fixing and building communication systems since he was knee-high to a Thyrotron. I don't know what a Thyrotron is. Let us know. 10 years experience in advanced forces training has also made him an expert in the field of laser technology. To Dialtone, bouncing a message off a satellite halfway around the globe and firing a high-intensity laser burst at a moving target are essentially the same thing. So when he heard that High Command was looking for seasoned troopers with specialised skills, Dialtone said, "Hold my calls. Dial Tone is also the unofficial electronics repairman for the team. So I started out saying it looked fairly similar, the profile, but that is very, very different. The next little section there, out in the field, Dial Tone used to be the guy caught in a firefight, huddled in the mud somewhere, screaming at headquarters for reinforcement. Now he is the reinforcement, and the only message this guy sends is duck, which is pretty cool. This file card's turned Dial Tone into a boss, and not just a regular run-of-the-mill radio man, which is interesting. Assigned armaments, he's got a multi-burst laser pistol, an XML 3000 laser rifle, a 40mm XML 2000 grenade launcher, and obviously that 5.56mm submachine gun. His weapons qualification is sharpshooter. So there's all sorts of crazy stuff on this file card. Dial Tone became a multi-purpose fighting machine. And there's a little note there about Dial Tone's security number. It has been specially modified to prevent breaches in G.I. Joe security. Sounds pretty cool. 8-year-old me would have loved that. So there's the two file cards. They're an interesting read. What else have I got here? Oh, I have a little trading card here, which is from the 1991 run of trading cards that were brought out for G.I. Joe. I've got all of these. I managed to buy a complete set from a gentleman who was local to me here in Adelaide, believe it or not, and got them for a really good deal. This covers much of the same information that the file cards have contained, and specifically the green file card. You can see there the profile is very much the same. The only thing they hear is duck, which is obviously from that 1991 version. I think the artwork is certainly that Sonic Fighters version. It was 1991, obviously, and that guy came out in 1990, so that's where that comes from. Everything else looks fairly similar. Jack S. Morelli, the man. So that's pretty cool. I'll check that over there. What else have I got here? I just wanted to show you. This, as we all know, is another communications guy from G.I. Joe. His name is Mainframe. He's pretty cool. He's Zorana's girlfriend. I had a few broken bits and pieces kicking around, so I actually made my own custom Dial Tone, and I wanted him to run in the same squad as my man Mainframe. So there is Dial Tone with Mainframe's shirt. I got a little bit of silver texture on the knee pads to I think that's as close as I come to doing airbrushing on a G.I. Joe custom, but I think it turned out pretty cool. So there's Mainframe and Dial Tone running around in the same communication squad, which I think is pretty groovy. I don't have a stand for him though. I think he usually kicks around in my drawer, but maybe I should take a photograph with him. It's still got the green feet. See that? Maybe I should take a photo with him out in my backyard at some point. Of course, Breaker was the G.I. Joe that Dial Tone replaced. There's Breaker there. And hello to all the Breaker fans out there. I like to say that Dial Tone was a fantastic replacement for Breaker. Obviously, the line needed to be refreshed as the years drew on, but some of those figures, some of the second figures, some of the replacements, some of the team member replacements in the mid '80s were a bit subpar, but certainly Dial Tone was a pretty cool replacement for Breaker. I think so anyway. That might be sacrilege to some people, but to me, I think he was cool. What else have I got here? All right, I have the G.I. Joe Order of Battle comic. This is the first edition. Order of Battle was a 4-issue limited series of the G.I. Joe comics. And in the first edition, Dial Tone is pictured clearly on the front. Now, if you don't know what these Order of Battle comics were all about, they were basically profiles for all of the G.I. Joes. So there's Bazooka and Beachhead with a extended sort of profile and some artwork on these guys. Dial Tone is in here. I'll just see if I can find him, and this is in alphabetical order, so it should be fairly easy. So cross country, cutter, deep six. There he is. Dial Tone. And that's pretty cool artwork as well. Pretty true to the figure. The file, the profile is very similar to the file card. Actually, it is. It's exactly the same as the file card, which is pretty cool. He is Jackass Morelli. What a legend. These are really cool. You can still get these comics for quite cheap online. So if you haven't got the full Order of Battle comics, definitely worth a look. You can pick them up for $4 or $5 Australian. Look at the back there. The back's really cool. The artwork is just fantastic. Yeah, get around it. Order of Battle. Cool comics. Let me just leave that there for now. What else have I got here? Well, as I mentioned before, I went to Joe Fest in June 2025, so a couple of months ago, and I made it my business to purchase every O-ring G.I. Joe in the line. So I ended up getting some of those lost era G.I. Joes, the G.I. Joes from the 2000s, and I thought I'd show them to you here. The first one is version 5 of Dial Tone. He came out in the year 2000, and it's the same sculpt, but Dial Tone is all of a sudden missing his signature mustache, which makes him look very young. So maybe this is a young Dial Tone. Maybe this is a fresh recruit Dial Tone. The figure itself is really cool. It comes with walkie-talkie and a weapon that looks like Dusty version 2's rifle. Is it version 2 or version 3, Dusty? I'm not sure. Correct me in the comments. Feel free to correct me. And a backpack, which looks like it was originally supplied maybe with a cross-country version 2. I don't know. You tell me. I didn't make notes. But that is Dial Tone from the year 2000. He's pretty cool. Very, very cool. I love every Dial Tone though, so you're going to hear me say that quite a bit. I feel like he should go at the back. There we go. We'll put him at the back there. I actually got 2 of him, and I don't know how I managed to do that. Actually, I do know how I managed to do that. I forgot what I had already bought. So I went to the convention floor at Joe Fest, found all the figures that I needed, and then as I was leaving on the Sunday afternoon, I saw in the elevator someone had stuck a sign that they were having a G.I. Joe sale in their hotel room. So I caught the elevator up to the 8th floor or whatever it was and went to this room. There was a few guys hanging around having some beers and having a chat, and a bloke just had all his G.I. Joes spread out on his bed. And I picked up another copy of that 2000 Dial Tone. So I ended up with 2 of him. And I don't mind. I mean, yeah, all G.I. Joes are cool. So I got two 2000 G.I. Joes. Didn't mean to, but that's the way the cookie crumbled for me. The next version of Dial Tone came out in 2002. And these are pretty good colorways as well. So with this version, the mustache made it back, and the sculpt is exactly the same as the sculpt that was used throughout the line. The coloration is very cool. So he's been given this black and teal and silver makeover, maybe with some green sleeves, nice shiny sort of appearance to him. It's just awesome. He's running around with Big Ben's backpack and Firefly's weapon, which is interesting. I think he came with another weapon which I wasn't lucky enough to score at Joe Fest, but look, at least he's armed with something. And I reckon that Firefly weapon is actually pretty close to that signature SMG, if you ask me. So he's a pretty good version as well. He's from 2002. I'll put him back there. The only other O-ring Dial Tone I had to get, believe it or not, was a Tiger Force version. And he can be hard to track down because he came in a 5-pack with a whole bunch of other figures. I didn't write them down, so I can't tell you exactly which ones they were. But I did get Dial Tone, and that was the main thing for me, right? So here is Dial Tone from 2003. He's version 7. He is the Tiger Force version. So this guy, I love him. I love him so much. He is so cool. Probably the only knock on him is the skin tone's a bit off. He looks kind of orangey pink. Yeah. But look, coloration's fantastic. He has the tiger stripes on his vest, on his boots, and his knee pads. The backpack here looks like a 1986 Viper backpack, which is really cool. And that weapon, I'm not sure where that came from. I'm pretty sure that was used in the 80s. If you know, tell me in the comments below. So that is Tiger Force dial tone. He is really something special. So I'm pretty happy to have him in the collection as well. So that's every O-ring version of dial tone, plus mainframe, breaker, and my own mainframe custom of dial tone in my cabinet. So I displayed them all together. I've got a dial tone shelf. I'm that much of a fan of dial tone. I know it might seem sad, but I mean it's sad that I've got a cabinet full of GI Joes to some people. I mean, but my allegiance to dial tone is pretty clear. There were a few versions of dial tone released after this that weren't really the 3 3/4 inch O-ring versions that we're familiar with. There's one that came out in 2009, and this one is a little bit problematic to me because that version of dial tone was female, but in looking into it, I found that the story behind the female dial tone was that this was Jack Morelli's daughter or sister or something like that. Again, tell me in the comments if you can clarify, but her name was Jill Morelli. And look, I've got nothing against women. I love women. But yeah, it was interesting that dial tone came out in 2009 as a female. And I think she came out again as a female in the comics, but there were other versions of dial tone the figure in 2011. I think there was 2 versions. There was a member exclusive with the Collectors Club, and there was a JoeCon Orlando dial tone. So pretty hard figures to get. And then finally in 2015, JoeCon in Springfield brought out another Tiger Force version of dial tone. But those 4 versions that I don't have, as I said, they're different. They're not the 3.75 inch ones, so not really high on my shopping list. They're just not figures that I collect. A couple of other things I wanted to show you. I, of course, went out and grabbed the classified version of dial tone as soon as it was released. Well, actually, I didn't. My great friend Adam, who I travelled to Joe Fest with, he is Shark Eyes Toy Review. Check him out on YouTube if you haven't already. He gets all these classified figures first. He picked up dial tone for me, so I let him review dial tone at his house before he made the trip across the Victorian South Australian border. And look, overall, I'm very happy with how this dial tone turned out. So it's a beautiful upgrade on the original figure, whilst also staying true to it. So he's very cool. He's got an SMG there. He's got his own mobile phone, which is a pretty cool modern touch. It's very nice. I think this is going to be resupplied with maybe another G.I. Joe figure. I think maybe Psych Out. But look, it works with dial tone, so not going to turn down some extra accessories. And his beret comes off, which is pretty cool as well. I didn't actually realise until I was playing around with him, but the classified version is very groovy. Whoops! Break it down! Break it down! See if he stands up over there. He does. He's very cool. Thank you, Mr. Dial Tone. Put Breaker back. I've got the packaging for that here too. Here it is here. It's got some pretty cool artwork. There's my man Dial Tone. He's a handsome looking rooster. The box is pretty... I don't know what to say about that. There's some cool artwork on the back as well. It's very cool. So I'll chuck that up there. And look, that's almost everything I wanted to show you. But there's one thing left in the cabinet that I haven't showed you. And this was a gift. And I've talked a lot about Joe Fest today. And for those that didn't make it to Joe Fest, I do sincerely apologise. It's been a lot of Joe Fest chat. I promise we'll return to usual programming next time. But whilst I was at Joe Fest, my friend Gary from the Chaplain's Assistant Motor Pod, he was trying to sell a mint on card dial tone that had the flag points removed. So some little kid had never taken dial tone off the packaging, but cut out the flag points because obviously he was saving up for some sort of mail away piece. But the point is, it's a mint on card dial tone, which I never thought I'd have. It was obviously proving very difficult for Gary to sell because it had the flag points cut out. But at the end of the show, he made a gift of it to me, and I'll be forever grateful. And there it is there, mint on card dial tone. So this instantly transported me back to my childhood when I saw dial tone as the card on the card as a kid. So bit of a shame that I'm sticking my finger through it. Bit of a shame that there's a hole in the middle of the card, but look, everything else looks fantastic. He looks exactly like he would have looked hanging off the peg in John Martin's in Adelaide, Australia. This one's come from Mailman's. This one sat on the peg for a bit as well. Went from $3.49 to $1, which is pretty funny. And obviously all the 1986 Joes are on the back there. Came out in the same year, which is very cool. And the file card, which I touched on a little bit before. So, yeah, like I said, going to be eternally grateful for Gary making a gift of that to me, and certainly is a centerpiece in my collection. Like I said, the whole, obviously it's not ideal, but this is a story. This is a memory, and it has just enhanced the legend of dial tone for me. So thanks, Gary. But look, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to drop a like on the video. If you've got the hype button, maybe give it a hype. I don't know what any of this stuff means. I'm a 43-year-old Australian male. I'm not completely with YouTube. But if the hype button's there, give me a hype. And look, maybe even give me a subscribe as well. I don't worry too much about the numbers, but certainly the numbers help keep me motivated. So if you've enjoyed any of this, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. And I guess I'll see you next time. Yo, Joe.